I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things. Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Think about it. The most valuable commodity I know of is information. Wouldn't you agree?
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. The show goes on!
It's Wednesday night and fantasy football is on the agenda. Grab a seat and let's get down to business. It's time for the Fantasy Boardroom. Here's your host, Tycoon.
And welcome to the Fantasy Boardroom. It is showtime. It is Thanksgiving. Hell yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I am quite excited for the holiday. Dustin Boswell, as he says, you are here live for the Thanksgiving special. That is right. Thanksgiving special, baby. And that's all we're going to focus on. We're going to have a little bit of a different flavor tonight. You know, we're not really going to go through the normal segments. We're not going to really look at anything too much outside of Thanksgiving. That's what we're focused on. Tomorrow is food, football, family. So we're going to take care of the football part for you. We're already in the holiday spirit. You notice, no shirt and tie, no coat tonight. Just a nice, appropriate, casual look to go into the holiday. Dustin's a fan of the intro? Hell yeah. Thank you, sir. I listen to a lot of radio in general, so I try and pick up on what I like without stealing anything. But just the stuff I enjoy. So yeah, we're just going to get into Turkey Day, baby. Let's do it. We're going to focus. First, we're going to go through the games, kind of give you your start-sit advice. A lot of people are wary of playing players on Thursday games in general off the short week. Understandably, in this case, we have 6 teams playing. We have a couple of high-profile teams with significant fantasy assets playing, so can't really be ignored. So we're going to run you through that. Going to run through a little DFS. I know not everybody plays a lot of daily throughout the season. I've played a little less this year than I have in years past, just as a byproduct of other focuses. But it's Thanksgiving, so again, we'll have a little time tonight. We're going to have a little time in the morning, tinker with some lineups. So we're going to play with that, just add a little extra fun. And also, if you're in an eligible state, if you're playing DFS, then that means you're likely able to also participate in PrizePicks, or if you live in a state that allows regular legalized sports betting, you can apply these even as solo when I go through PrizePicks. As you'll hear, if you don't already know, everything has to at least be one pair of picks. Everything is a parlay of sorts, but you can even go for single props if you're in states that allow such things. California, come on, let's go. We'll get there. But we do have PrizePicks for now. So yeah, we're going to run you through season long. We're going to run you through DFS. We're going to run you through props. We're going to make it a fun, football-filled, profitable Thanksgiving. You'll be given thanks after this, baby. Yes, you will. So first things first. I know, we're disappointed. It doesn't look like we're going to get the Dalton Boyle special that we were looking for in the morning. It will, in fact, be Dalton still, but Jared Goff is in line to start. We will have a hobbled Goff manning the helm for Detroit. So what that means is, honestly, a likely better performance coming from the Detroit offense. I still think they're going to ride Swift as much as they have been recently. Chicago, their secondary is really the weakness of that defense. But Khalil Mack is out for the season. So they can be had a little bit more on the ground, but still a decent line. They're not getting hurt too badly by running backs. But the secondary stinks. Having Goff, even injured, is still better than having Tim Boyle, who wasn't even good in college. How he's in the league is an incredible mystery. but he is, and we don't have to sit through that tomorrow morning. We'll actually have, while not a great one, an actual NFL quarterback playing for Detroit. And on the flip side, Dalton can run the offense just fine. As for Chicago, so this is going to be a better game than it looked like it was going to be just a couple of days ago. Now, as far as who to play, obviously on the Detroit side, you're playing DeAndre Swift. You're always playing DeAndre Swift, but you're especially playing DeAndre Swift. I don't know if you got the hint, but you should be playing DeAndre Swift tomorrow. He's going to have a great day, and pretty much anybody else on the Detroit side offensively, I would avoid. Now, on the Chicago side, I'm a little more encouraged. If you're in a super flex league, I do think Andy Dalton will be a viable QB2 for you tomorrow if you're in a pinch. If you're dealing with any injuries, buys, if you have Mahomes or Kyler, there you go. And David Montgomery is in a tremendous spot. I would absolutely make sure that if you roster him, you have him in your lineup. I mean, you likely already are, but definitely make sure you take advantage of the fantastic matchup against the horrid Detroit Lions rush defense. And I would actually play Darnell Mooney as well. Looked really good last week. Allen Robinson is once again doubtful to play. I certainly don't expect him to play tomorrow. So get Mooney in your lineup. Detroit can be had anyway offensively. Andy Dalton, since this is in the morning, while it is a Thursday game, it's in the morning, so the Andy Dalton primetime factor does not come into play here. Does not come into play here at all. Absolutely get Mooney in there. You can deal with Dalton. We'll talk about it later. Ooh. Spicy. Doesn't think Scoff's going to throw for 400. If he wasn't injured, honestly, I would give him a chance at this. Chicago secondary is that bad. That said, I think he'll break 200. He'll get Hawkinson a little bit. I mean, maybe 50-ish yards. I think you'll see a lot of checkdowns, so you'll get a lot of that receiving work back from Swift for this week, as well as him being just ridden like the bell cow that he is turning into. Even better than my wildest expectations. Damn, is it glorious. He could have a good day. We'll see how it goes. 400 seems excessive, but hey, maybe a Thanksgiving miracle. Now, we will move on to two teams that America collectively can't stand, so we'll see how this goes. But we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Dallas Cowboys. We are in Jerry World, as we are every Thanksgiving, just like we're in Detroit every Thanksgiving morning. We kick off the afternoon with the Cowboys. Now, they come in without Amari Cooper, who is still on the COVID reserve list, likely without CeeDee Lamb. There's rumblings he could play. It's possible, this and that. I really, really hope he doesn't. A player should not be returning from a concussion in 4 days. It's unbelievable to me that this is even being considered on the Cowboys side by them, by CD himself. Take the day off. It's your brain. Take the day off. Give thanks that all you have is a concussion and that you're recovering well enough that you even think that you have a shot at playing tomorrow. So continue your recovery. Do not play. I know the fantasy world is saying shut up, but really, take care of yourself, CD. Do not play. But that will open up opportunities for others. So Zeke is also coming in a little bit hobbled, but he is also going to play. And Dak will at least have players out there, although not his full complement of weapons. I actually failed to check the status of Tyron Smith for this week. So, Dustin, I know you're watching. Can you let me know, is Tyron playing? Damn, I really should have checked into that. And on the other side, we've got Las Vegas, really in a bit of a funk lately. Derek Carr has not looked good the last few games. The offense is struggling without Ruggs. Deshaun is not the replacement that I think they hoped he would be. I mean, the guy can still fly, but you saw what happened on his first catch, immediate fumble. So it's not looking good over there for Vegas. It really isn't. It's kind of sad, but not looking good. And defensively, falling apart. So in this case, start your Cowboys. obviously you start Dak. You still start Zeke. If you have Pollard, absolutely start Pollard. And I mean, Wilson and Gallup are in flex consideration. I'd play Gallup in most season longs unless you're in like a larger league. I probably wouldn't throw Wilson in there yet, but perhaps. Tyron's out, Dustin says, so that hampers it a little bit. But with that said, Las Vegas has been that poor that it's not going to affect them as much in this game as usual. I mean, I would be just ultra bullish on Pollard in particular if Tyron was back, but we'll see. Yeah, Max Crosby he's really good at time. You notice him, he makes big plays, sure, but I don't know if he is ultra consistent play to play. He gets there sometimes. He has great highlights, put it that way. And of course, once we get through the Raiders and the Cowboys, we then have the main attraction, the main course of the evening, if you will, and that is the Buffalo Bills at the New Orleans Saints. Yes, New Orleans, manned by Trevor Siemian, will face off against the, speaking of inconsistent, the inconsistent Buffalo Bills. They are a Jekyll and Hyde team, really. It's kind of unbelievable. Some weeks they look invincible. Some weeks they lose to the Jaguars. Yeah. And they just got manhandled by my boy JT. So they went from having one of the best rush defenses in the league to somewhere in the middle of the pack, at least in terms of fantasy points allowed against. Not necessarily actual NFL stats. Max has the second highest pressure percentage in NFL behind Micah and ahead of Randy Gregory. I don't know if being ahead of Randy Gregory is something I would typically tout as something to really, really brag about, but I do understand he's been having a pretty good year. I don't really want to talk about that. Hey, we're moving on, though. We're in the Buffalo-New Orleans game. We'll get back. So, Buffalo, New Orleans. Now, I do think this is going to be one of the good games for Buffalo coming up. It's going to be an outstanding game for them, in fact. The way that Jalen Hurts was able to run all over the New Orleans defense last week, a little bit surprising to me. I mean, I know he already runs, and that's kind of what he does, but still, excessive success last week. Encourages me in the sense that I expect Josh Allen to also have similar success. Now, I don't think he's going to rush for 70 yards, but I do think he's going to be able to open up a lot of things with his legs, which I think will open up some opportunities for Diggs, will open up some opportunities for Sanders and Beasley, and of course, Dawson Knox. Now, New Orleans has a good defense, but their strength is really against the run. Now, against running backs, not so much necessarily against mobile QBs as we saw last week. So I think this is really just a smash spot for the Buffalo offense. And on the flip side, New Orleans doesn't have Jonathan Taylor. So I expect their defensive performance to be quite strong. Now, I don't want to necessarily cite last week as a strong performance against the passing game for Buffalo just because they were getting eaten alive on the ground. But by the same token, they have been very good against the pass all year, near the top of the league. And I expect that to also continue this week. And do not really look to see much from Trevor Siemian, to put it that way. If anything, fantasy-wise, I guess it's possible something like last week happens where he kind of storms back with 3 garbage time touchdowns, but I really don't think that's going to be the case. Again, Kamara is out, so Ingram's hobbled. We can get a nice dose of Tony Jones. Who knows? I don't know how quick it's going to get ugly, but I think ultimately that game is going to get ugly. And those on the East Coast, well, I expect that tryptophan to really do its work in the second half and you guys able to just get yourselves to sleep, get some rest. If you didn't take that Thanksgiving nap so you could keep up with the games, well, you'll be able to dip out a little bit early in Buffalo, New Orleans, unless you are focused on what we're going to talk about next, and that is some DFS, baby. DFS. Now, I'm going to focus on DraftKings just because that's what I primarily play when it comes to daily fantasy. It's, between that and FanDuel, obviously, are the big boys. I'm not the biggest FanDuel guy. In the boardroom, we typically talk full PPR scoring, and as such, that's also why we're going to talk about DraftKings, because that is what they use. There are bonus points for breaking 100 yards, 100 rushing, 100 receiving, and also 300 passing. So a little more generous, a little more fun, but mostly PPR because that's what we play here in the boardroom. So, with that said, I am actually going to go ahead and share. There we go. So, if you guys want to put your attention here to the board, we're going to take a look at the 3-game slate. I'm not going to get into showdowns here. That's a whole different ball game, requires a whole different level of diving deeply. But we are going to look at the little mini 3-game slate, which gives you the opportunity to mix things up and actually be a little bit different from the others in your tournaments. I would recommend, normally I'm a cash game, highly, majority cash game player, 50-50s and double ups. I don't mess around too much in the large tournaments, GPPs. So those are what we're going to focus on with the smaller slate. It's difficult in cash, especially with a lot of the factors we just discussed in the game previews. But we're going to get to comments before we get into lineup building. Oh, Mike back to Buffalo, New Orleans, talking about a lot of dump off to Ingram and Jones Jr. Yeah, how much can Ingram handle, though? I mean, he'll be playing through injury. We'll see. Season is in the house. Welcome to the boardroom, baby. Welcome. Happy Thanksgiving. Just topped onto YouTube and see a Thanksgiving special. Love to see it. Hell yeah. Thank you for being here. Mike, sleep during the Dallas game? Of course you do. And most years in our lifetime makes sense. This year, though, maybe not. There are going to be some points scored. Just enjoy. So, first, we're going to take a look here at our available quarterback options, DraftKings, this Thursday. So, at the top of the list, obviously, no surprise, we've got Josh Allen and we have Dak Prescott. Oh, whoops. Josh Allen, Dak Prescott. Checking in, Josh Allen way ahead of the pack at 7,800. Dak Prescott at 6,900. Then another significant drop off down to Derek Carr at 5,900. And that's kind of where it starts to meld together a little bit. Trevor Siemian, Andy Dalton, and then Jared Goff down at 5,100. So Siemian and Dalton at 56 and 5,500 respectively. Here, the two that I'm truly interested in would be Allen and would be Dalton, if you're trying to save or conserve a little bit for other positions. But if you can find the value at these other positions that you like, then spend up for Allen. And as we go through, I actually do think that's going to be a possibility. So, you know what? Just for fun, let's build a lineup together. And if anybody's seeing anything on the board here you want to discuss, throw it in the chat there. But I think we're going to start our build with Allen. And now I normally start with choosing a defense simply because over here it shows you your average remaining per player. And I very much enjoy that being a larger number by choosing, of course, the cheapest position here in excuse me, in the defense. So Raiders and Lions are the cheapest on the board for good reason. Not sure I really want to touch those. We've got the Saints at 2,900, the Bears at 3,000, the Bills at 3,100, and the Cowboys at 3,300 going against the Raiders. So to me, the two that stand out are the Bears and the Bills. At only 100 difference, I'm kind of leaning obviously toward Chicago. My fear is that's going to be the biggest chalk play. We're going to have 80% plus that are going to be riding the Bears against the Lions offense, whether it's Goff, maybe he gets hurt again, you get Boyle in there, and Lord knows what can happen. In order to win tournaments, it is important to be different. And it'll be a little bit easier in other spots, but I think this is going to be one very easy way to differentiate yourself in this lineup. So in this case, I am actually going to suggest the Bills. I think Trevor Siemian's had a nice little mini run. Not sure on the short week against a good defense and an angry team is the week that I'm really going to bet on his best success, also without the best player on his offense. So, you know what? We're going Bills. We're going Bills. Don't take the chalk here. Don't take the chalk. Dustin asked, does Nagy get fired tomorrow mid-game? No, and he's not going to get fired after the game. I don't believe that report. Sorry, Bears fans, you are still stuck with Nagy. At least for the time being. It'll eventually go away. He will eventually be gone, but not tomorrow. All right. So looking at the tight end position, now again, top of the heap, no shock. Darren Waller clocking in at 6,400, pretty sizable for a tight end. Viable options seem to go down to Cole Kmet here at 3,700, so 2,700 difference. Troutman is on IR there, so you can forget him. Dawson Knox at 4,400, TJ Hawkinson at 5,200, Dalton Schultz at 5,300. What stands out to me here are Schultz and Knox. I think both are in an outstanding position. In fact, I like Schultz a little more, but at the $900 difference, and considering that I already am rostering Josh Allen in this lineup, I think I'm going to go with the stack here and add Knox. Yeah, save a little salary for those receivers and running backs, and get that added bonus for when these two connect. And we'll hit running backs here. So Zeke at the top of the list. Especially with Kamara out. So Zeke clocks in at 8,000. Again, somewhat injured. Not too thrilled about the prospect of rolling out Mr. Elliott. DeAndre Swift at 7,300 against Chicago. You know what? You know what it is. You know what it is. So we're going to just go ahead and add Mr. Swift into this lineup. Following that, Ingram is questionable at 6,200. David Montgomery at 6,000. Wow, highly reasonable. I guess they're still wondering. I guess still doubting how much work he'll get, or how much is going to be going to Herbert. Wow, that just seems quite low. Jacobs at 5,900, seemingly low. Not really. Tony Pollard at 5,600 seems like a reasonable price. Then you get into the Buffalo backfield, which is a complete disaster going against a strong run defense. You don't know who is going to touch what, do what, get what. You can forget all of that. Don't touch the Buffalo backfield. This is where the I guess we already added Swift, but this is, the running back position is where we fade here, the Bills. So, going through this, it's really hard to get my eyes off Montgomery and Pollard. I think the way to go here is Montgomery, and then we're going to see if we can fit Pollard back in there at the flex somehow, perhaps. We'll see what the receiver board is looking like. Now, when it comes to this point in my lineup building, now I'm not ultra profitable, but I do okay at times. I have my stretches. As you can see here, average salary down to $5,350. Only about 21,400 left to fill the rest of this lineup. So what I do is look for my bargain receiver first, just to kind of see what I'm going to have left to play with after going my cheaper options, because I can find more options near the top that I like than I can down at the bottom. So I want to make sure I lock those in and see what's left over. So that's what we're going to do here. We'll get Wow, it goes into 3 games, man. You go through this list so much faster. So we got any hidden ones here in 3,000 so far? Not really. If you think Lil Jordan Humphrey is going to score another random touchdown, I don't. Malik Turner, if you expect Malik Turner to matter with Cooper and Lamb out, I don't. Zay Jones maybe gets a deep ball, beats Diggs, but I'm not banking on that. Josh Reynolds in town, no real strong receivers in Detroit, previous connection with Goff. Maybe that means something against the Chicago secondary, but again, not exactly banking on that Detroit play. Gabe Davis here, Gabriel Davis, not so much. We're getting up in here into Emmanuel Sanders. Cole Beasley. I probably like Beasley a little more this week. So that is... Yeah, Traquan Smith. Deontay Harris. Check there. Last game, only 3.1 points for Deontay. Traquan, 11. Don't necessarily want to chase points, but just want to get an idea. They're playing at home, averaging 10 fantasy points a game at home. I think if anybody's going to have a shot to do anything tomorrow through the air with them, it's probably going to be Traquan. The price is right. So I think I am going to add Traquan Smith. Also a little game stack here to go with these Buffalo selections. Now in the Chicago game, we were talking about Mooney a little bit. And the matchup, again, just so juicy. Like I said, really like Montgomery. There's going to be no Robinson, so I very much love the thought of Mooney here in the lineup. Catching passes with Mandy Dalton, acting as his primary receiver. Sorry, I'm processing too much. See, when I'm talking about DFS in real time, there's just too much thinking that goes into this. So it's, forgive the slow pace here. We'll speed it up. I don't want to bore you guys. I want to keep your attention here as we head into Thanksgiving. So Mooney, yeah, he'll be the primary target. We'll add him. We'll see if we can keep him, fit in. And then I am also going to add Stephon Diggs to see how much that screws me at the flex position. May have to take Mooney back out. But Diggs, yes, we're going to have to get rid of Mooney, unfortunately, because I do need that Diggs connection. We're going to need to find somebody much cheaper. Much cheaper. Who has a chance? Actually, that was Amon-Ra been doing of late. Yeah, he's only getting about 5-6 points a game. When it comes home. I'm not sure this is going to be the game for him. I think we might actually have to take a shot with Gabriel Davis. I think he might be the forgotten person in that offense who's going to be the beneficiary of any time that Stephon Diggs is being handled. So we're going to go Davis, and then flex-wise, does that leave us enough to go back up and get Pollard? We're 100 short, so we might have to get off the Bills and go back down to the Bears, keep the chalk in order to not have to knock ourselves down, or we could even go double tight end with Schultz, but I hate going double tight end. We're going to get rid of the Bills defense. We're going to get back to the Bears defense. And we're going to add Tony Pollard for our three-headed monster at running back. So we do have a notable Buffalo stack, but I do think this is going to be a massive, massive day on their end. I need to go back to the wide receivers. Might have to get rid of Gabe too. We'll see here. I feel like there needs to at least be a cowboy in here. I think it's going to have to be Cedric Wilson, along with Tony Pollard. Yeah, we need a part of that aerial attack. I mean, Dak's not going to do nothing. The secondary is just god awful for the Raiders. We need a piece of that. And I think we have our lineup here, babies. We're going Josh Allen, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, mandatory Montgomery, as Brad Evans would say, Traquan Smith, Cedric Wilson, Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox, Tony Pollard, and the Chicago Bears. That's right, the Chicago Bears, baby. Let's go. And that is going to be the lineup that is going to win us. Yes, we are going to win. Where the hell are the contest rules? First place is 75,000, baby. So this is the lineup that's going to take home $75,000 tomorrow. Or it might at least just get a little more than the money back if we can just place in the top, 80,000 or so. That's all we're looking for. 80,000 out of 3, so just in the top 25%. Hopefully, as this continues to get filled, it's only a little more than a third full. There'll be a lot of people who are hitting the sauce early tomorrow, and we've got a little bit of an edge. So we're just going to go ahead and plunk down this $3. And we are in, baby. Now, we're going to move on to one more thing, and that is my absolute favorite thing to be into these days. Absolute favorite thing to do. And that is prop bets, and that is PrizePicks. I am in love with doing PrizePicks. It's just so much fun. I feel like for us that are in fantasy, rather deep, we can find a lot of soft spots here. I kind of mentioned this when I plug PrizePicks at the end of every week, but there's a lot that you can easily find that's soft and that you can take advantage of. So the last couple of weeks have been pretty rough. I mean, I think it's kind of relatable to what's happening in fantasy, just the horrible weeks. But other than that, I was having a decent year to that point. So this is where we currently stand. We're going to go through some of these props. I'm going to lay down some of my favorites. There's really only one that I like much here when it comes to the pass yards. That would be Andy Dalton to go over 212.5. I just think he's going to have little resistance from Detroit. And Darnell Mooney is going to have a nice day. Derek Carr's number is tempting at 255. I think this could potentially turn into a little mini shootout, but they've just looked so rough. I don't want to touch that. Same with Dak without his full complement of weapons. I think Pollard could get leaned on a lot in this game. It could even get ugly. Maybe they get pulled early and he doesn't quite get there. Josh Allen, I actually like the over quite a bit, but I think more of his success is going to actually, at least fantasy-wise, as it relates to DraftKings, is going to come on the ground. I think he's going to have a really nice rushing day, maybe even take 1 or 2 in on the ground rushing. So the pass yards I'm slightly less confident in, not enough to put down the cold hard cash. Rush yards, though. Love David Montgomery, even at 72.5. I wish I hit this the other night when I noticed it was, about 60. And DeAndre Swift at 60.5, I am really warming up to as well. I think it's going to have to be a big Swift day. They've been feeding him. Go with Swift. So I would actually take the over here. I'm going to leave Swift off this for now, but definitely Mr. Montgomery. Tony Pollard at 35.5. I also just absolutely love. Because I don't think it's going to be a huge day for Zeke. I think they'll not need him as much. I think they're going to end up giving more work to Pollard on a short week with Zeke coming off injury. It makes too much sense. It's probably actually why it'll end up being a loser. So maybe you fade me, but Pollard has really looked. He's run with a lot of pop, a lot of burst, a lot of explosiveness. He's looked really, really good to the eye. He's passed the eye test with spades. So he's a guy that I'm going to be looking to mix in here into a lot of tickets. Zeke at 60.5. Yeah, I think that's risky. Josh Jacobs at 40.5 is close, man. That is a number I want to take the over on, but just barely. At first I was thinking the under, now I'd probably lean the over. So again, not touching it. These low totals on Singletary and Moss could just go either way. Who knows? Josh Allen at 29.5, though. Over. Absolute over. Love it. Smash it. So, over. Then receiving yards. Montgomery, 13.5. Swift, 29.5. I kind of want to say yes because with Goff there and coming off an arm injury in particular, well, yeah, we'll see what kind of shots he's trying to take. It could be a lot of checkdowns here for Goff. So this is one I would lean the over, but I'm not going to touch. Really not going to touch any of the Hawkinson, Detroit stuff. Amon-Ra, no. Khalif, no. Darnell at 52.5. I'm liking the over on. Goodwin, risky. Jimmy Graham, risky. Only takes one catch to get there. But if you were doing these, if you live in a state where you can bet these prop standalone, I might take the over on that. But if having to mix it into any of these multi-pick entries, I'm not playing with that one. Demir Bird, no. Josh Jacobs has actually, he's had like 4 catches, I think, each of the last 3 games, but 19, 20, 24. So he's exceeded that actually in 5 straight games. This could be one to go over. Forget the rushing yards. You might want to go on the over on Jacobs receiving, actually. Waller, 65.5. He always seems to end up right about there. I think he went over 100 last week, but often in that 50 and 60 range. So questionable, especially in a game that I don't think they're going to find much success in. Dalton Schultz now. That seems like a strong number. 45.5. No Cooper, likely no Lamb. How much Michael Gallup and Cedric Wilson can Dak lean on throughout the game. I think Schultz, he was getting plenty of work, as it was even with Cooper and Lamb healthy. So every other game, he seems to be breaking 50 yards. And I think with the particular circumstances in this game, you will see him do so again. So I would actually hit the over on that. I think I've reached my max number of entries for a given pick. So as we go through, I won't be able to add any more to the side, but we will still talk about them. Gallup is risky. Edwards could just take one catch, unfortunately. Diggs, I like the over on. Not as much as I like some of these other bets, but would definitely go the over there. I wouldn't touch anything else receiving-wise, Bills or Saints-wise, except for Marquez Callaway's under. He really hasn't been featured much in the last several weeks here, 26, 37, 25, 30, 32. In 4 of the last 5, he's been under that. Buffalo's pass defense secondary is fantastic, even when Simeon is going to be able to get some passes off, some good ones in any way. It's not going to be to Callaway or maybe just in the red zone. He's not catching a long pass here in this game, so I definitely think you can bank on that under. Definitely Callaway under. Singletary, not touching it. Deontay Harris, Zach Moss, nope. Knox, I like the over, but not enough to put the money on it. And that's where that will fall. And receptions are always tricky. But I do think Swift. See, now these are all playing with fire. Every single one of them. I would not touch any of the receptions. I would focus just on the yardage here. Yeah, well, except maybe Knox. I would probably take the over on Knox because if it was 3.5, I wouldn't touch it. But at 3.0, at least a 3 gives you the push. So I think I'd take Knox. I'd take that over. You never know between Sanders and Beasley what's going to happen there. Diggs is almost certainly going to go over, in my opinion. But again, higher number, better bets on the board. Save your money for some of the better bets. Passing TDs, so random. I just can't bring myself to trust any of these. So I typically don't touch the touchdown props too often. Although David Montgomery rushing TD seems nice. If that was just touchdown period, not rushing, I'd probably be much more on top of that. But in this case, no way. Completions, I also tend not to mess with too much because that's not part of what I try to project when it comes to fantasy-wise. I often do with receptions, but this week I just don't like the options that are there. But yeah, completions are not generally part of my fantasy analysis, so those I can't speak as strongly on. And lastly, it's not even a Thanksgiving, so we're not even going to talk about it. So I think my 5 absolute favorite bets on the board for Thanksgiving prop-wise are Andy Dalton over 212.5 passing yards, David Montgomery over 72.5 rushing yards, Tony Pollard over 35.5 rushing yards, Josh Allen over 29.5 rushing yards. Those 2 rushing yard props, my favorite on the board, absolute favorite, the more I look at it. And then Dalton Schultz over 45.5 receiving yards. And my 6th and final, one that I want to pound the table for is going to be that Marquez Callaway under 32.5. Yes, Marquez Callaway under 32.5 receiving yards. You can book that one. So those are the 6 I would ride. Again, with PrizePicks, you can pair them in a variety of ways. You can go as minimum of 2 picks where you can do a power play that will give you 3 times your return if you hit both picks, or you can do a flex play where you have a smaller payout for hitting both. I believe it's who cares? Don't do the flex plays in general unless you're doing the 4 or 5 picks. Now, obviously, you limit the chance of the return. I typically don't go flex, but if you're going to utilize the flex, make sure it is only if you're doing 4 and in particular 5 because you don't have a choice of 5. It gets a little riskier then. I mean, if you're only making 2 picks or 3 picks, just ride the picks you made, have some confidence, give your chance at the payout. It's not worth it. You don't get enough back even when you miss the picks to really, the numbers aren't there. So go the whole way, but yeah, you can mix them 2, 3, 4, or 5 picks. You can get 3 times your money, 2 picks, 5 times your money with 3 picks hitting, 10 times your money with 4 picks hitting, and if you go 5, also 10. Or you can still double it if you hit 4. Now, I know that sounds crazy because if I just do just the 4, then that gives me 10. Yes, but this at least gives you that one buffer. So often with parlays, as much as it sucks, you lose that leg. There's just the one leg that always screws it off. So in this case, you can at least still double your money. Now, most of these, once you start losing one of your picks, it's a major drop off. You're not even hitting that 2x amount. So that's where it really kind of kills it for me. Going from 4 to 3, I think it's just like 1.25 your money if you hit 3 or something like that, which is still fine. Don't get me wrong. You're still getting a 25% return there, but I'd rather get the 100% return. And even still, you get 40% of your money back if you miss 2 of them. So now it is harder to hit that 5th one than hit that 10x, but it gives you that little tiny buffer that you don't lose your whole bet and even still have a chance to come out on top, even if you miss 1 pick. So with that in mind, I'm probably going to be doing a fair amount of 2 and 3. I mean, they always all sound good. I tend to encourage you to do the majority of your entries as simple 2-pick parlays. 2. You only got to hit the 2. It still gives you triple your money. Don't get too greedy. once in a while, you mix in the bigger ones. I like to. I'll certainly have one or two, 4 or 5 pickers, leggers here when it comes to my Thanksgiving bets, but don't make that your only focus. And whether you're also playing on other sites such as Underdog, if you're signing up for either PrizePicks or Underdog, please make sure to sign up using code Collective. That is KOLLECTIV. Let's make some money, baby. Let's just make some money. Dalton, over 212.5 yards. Montgomery, over 72.5 yards. Tony Pollard, over 35.5 yards. Rushing, of course. Josh Allen, over 229.5 rushing yards. Dalton Schultz, over 45.5 receiving yards. And, of course, Marquez Callaway, under 32.5 rushing yards. And with that in mind, it is the holiday weekend again. It's time for fun. It's time for family. It's time for food. It's time to be thankful. It's time for football, baby. Time for football. The last thing I'm going to do here, I'm not going to really plug anything, plug PrizePicks. I've already given you the spiel every week. We just spent a fair bit of time going over the picks you know about PrizePicks. Go sign up for PrizePicks. But I'm going to give thanks myself. It's going to be a little bit cheesy. It's going to be a little bit generic, but not generic, but it's going to be a little bit cliche. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. But it's that I am thankful for any of you that are watching, that are listening, whether it's literally right now live or whether this is the following day here as you're getting ready for the day of Thanksgiving. You're going to have to listen to this in the morning. There's going to be a quickly outdated episode. Did not do a good job of making this an evergreen episode, but that's okay. Very time sensitive. But I am grateful for you. I obviously fancy myself as somebody who at least knows something about fantasy football and knows something about football in general. If I'm willing to put myself on camera out here on the internet offering opinions in an arena where it's not always the most level-headed minds that are conversing. It gets emotional, often very quickly. But yeah, I've been an observer for many, many years, considering jumping into this, whether it be writing, which is for the longest time was really the only focus, and I have started doing over at Fantasy Collective with all of my dear brothers at Fantasy Collective and sister, of course, cannot forget you, Becky. But it's been unreal so far. Now, I haven't found wild success. I'm not getting thousands of viewers here. I'm not. I'm the fantasy CEO here that you guys should be paying attention to, but not enough yet, but that's okay. I seem to have right now a core but relatively loyal group here, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate every single one of you. The fact that even 1 or 2 people ever even takes 2 minutes to tune into what my dumbass has to say is something else. I've gotten various messages and DMs and what have you, whether it's soliciting advice or thanking me for an opinion or just to get a thought as to something they just did. I have always wanted to help people with this because, again, I've found a lot of success in my time as a fantasy football player and want to share that knowledge with my friends and with all of you. I want to help people win. It's about winning. I want to help people have fun and take their friends and coworkers and families' money in any paid leagues, of course, because that's also what's fun. It's about having fun. It's about winning. I want to be a part of that, and I wanted to be a part of this to be able to help share it. And it can't be done without actually having somebody on the other end bringing this in. So to all of you that watch, all of you that listen, all of you that we converse on a regular basis, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. It means everything. It really does, because this has been a labor of love. This isn't anything getting paid yet for doing the show. This is a lot of extra time that's going in for little return in that regard, but in terms of fulfillment, and fun. It's been great. I mean, I love doing the show. I love talking to you guys. happy to even have the opportunity to do this. So I look forward to many, many more. What can I say? And I would also be remiss if I did not thank my brothers over at the Fantasy Collective. In particular, I mean, we have a whole group, love them all, but I want to give a shout out to the collective core, which would be, of course, Carbon Fox, Shane Barrett, Nick Sarnelli, and Wardy. Now, these guys are my brothers. Everybody else, of course, in the collective, you're not forgotten. But this is the group that launched the site, that has, while we're still very much in a growth phase, have a ways to go. This season is only the first of many, and many great ones. We're still kind of getting our feet wet. But man, what a group! What a group! Such talent, such drive and desire, time. We need to get a little bit more of, but this off season is going to be very big for us. But I'm so thankful to have these partners here in this venture and what we're doing, and to bring you the very best of what we can offer when it comes to fantasy advice. We went from very basic, just the fantasy nightcap podcast from Fox and Shane, to what is now, we've got 3 podcasts. We've got regular weekly articles. The off season was very busy with these. You can find us all over Twitter, answering your questions, giving you advice, all over Sleeper, all over wherever. So it's just been a lot of fun. Met a lot of amazing people because of this, and I'm thankful to be doing this with you guys, and can't wait to keep it going as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the food. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the motherfucking football, baby. And with that, we'll send you into this glorious, glorious Thanksgiving holiday by letting you know that this meeting of the Fantasy Boardroom is adjourned.